Mr. Jones.
Mr. Speaker, members, this amendment simply states that a government entity that collects vital statistical information may not disclose or release that information to any person. Members, this data includes sensitive personal information related to an individual's sex as determined by government standards. While the underlying bill mandates collection, this amendment ensures that information cannot be accessed and weaponized against any individuals. We've heard concerns that HB 229 could lead to new data being used to target out individuals, particularly transgender Texans, even in ways not originally intended by this bill. This amendment addresses those concerns by placing a strict non-disclosure rule on the information collected. It is a guardrail. It adds clarity and reassurance that personal identification will not be made public or shared with outside parties. I move
Manuel,
adoption.
for what purpose?
Will the gentleman yield?
Gentleman yield for questions?
Yes.
Yields for questions.
Mr. Jones, as two men in this building who come from a long history of being discriminated against, not just because of our race, as two gay men, can you explain to the body what kind of discrimination we have had to deal with based on vital statistics that has been used against us in this country?
Absolutely. I think it's very important to realize that the very data that's supposed to support and provide the numbers necessary to protect Texans sometimes are used for the exact opposite, to target Texans, to make sure that services are not available for certain groups of Texas. Which one? Oh, sorry. Excellent. Well, finishing up your question, just making sure that this data is not used to discriminate against Texans. What I did find out is actually the amendment that I had was actually incorrect. And so I wanted to just make sure that we update this language to say, my amendment that I just proposed acts to change the law made in this, to add a language that says, this changes in this law, the changes made in this law may not be construed to permit discrimination on the basis of an individual's gender identity, including an individual's identity as an individual who is transgender, non-binary, or intersex. And really part of the confusion is really attached to some of the same things. Just making sure that we put the guardrails necessary to prevent this bill from being used as a tool of discrimination. And we see that those things could happen. We've seen the comments and conversations that have happened online and know sometimes the origin of these conversations and how it is specifically used to attack those from the transgender community, those who are non-binary and intersex. So just making sure that we are putting the proper protections in place while also honoring the original intent, the original author's intent of this bill.
And also want to ask, are we seeing the exact same types of violence, horrible rhetoric against the transgender community that we were seeing towards people like you and I not even 30 years ago?
Absolutely. Part of the reason I came to this body, right during the COVID pandemic, I witnessed not only a mile away from my house, the horrific murders of about 9 transgender women. And the language used by lawmakers, the language used by community leaders to disenfranchise, marginalize, make this community invisible continues to echo to this very day. So I think it is very necessary to make sure we put protections in place to protect this vulnerable community right now.
Are transgender women being assaulted just because they say no in this world?
For any reason, not only assaulted, but are not protected by the laws that are supposed to be put in place to protect us. So that's why this amendment is so important, and I hope the members vote to support this amendment in the bill.
So if I'm hearing this correctly, what you're saying is that yes, we can protect men, women, and children, but we should also be able to protect transgender people at the same time without repeating the mistakes of the past that have caused people to be murdered, harassed, assaulted, discriminated against from the history of this country.
Absolutely, and I think that in addition to making sure we talk about transgender individuals, we have to make sure to protect everyone, and that includes transgender, non-binary individuals. So it's not necessarily a pointing out, it's just making sure that when we talk about equality and justice for all communities, that all communities are actually a part of that very important conversation.
Thank you so much. Love your amendment.
Thank you very much. I move passage.
Mr. Osler in opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Just a reminder that this bill does not change existing law and reiterates protections against discrimination. I also did accept an amendment on Saturday to reiterate this. So for that reason, I move to table.
Members, Mr. Jones sends up an amendment. Ms. Troxclair has moved to table. The question is on the motion to table. Record vote. Clerk, ring the bell. Ms. Troxclair voting aye. Ms. Isaac voting aye. Ms. Harris-Davila voting aye. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? There being 86 ayes and 58 nays, the motion to table prevails. The following amendment, the clerk will read the amendment.